13th, 2026. And I am eating dinner. Is it autumn yet? I'm so ready for autumn. I'm not a summer guy. I'm every season except summer guy. That's how I feel about that. So yeah, it's time for Trailer Trails.
Hey y'all, and welcome back to another episode of Trailer Tales. My name is Dave Gunther, and to my left is a little honey in the middle. She's lip syncing my words for whatever reason right now. It's throwing me off a little bit. She is just a portal to another time. She is a portal to love, to friendship, to horniness. I would like to play I Spy with my big eye on both of her thighs. It's Miss Crystal.
Hello.
And her.
Oh, Val Crochets, I can't even tell you. Except I shall tell you. I was on the bus today. And these two children, one was, maybe they were both antagonizing each other, whatever. But the point is, the one woman smacked the one child in the head from behind. Not hard, but still a smack. It was not necessary. And the little child did not deserve it. The child was elbowing a whole bunch, and then both caregivers didn't even pay attention enough to notice. And so then when the one caregiver smacked upside the back of his head, I was just explaining to the parents that yes, this other child was elbowing first, and this other child was responding, and then they started to be all like, well, not both of them, but one of them was like, oh, well, mind your business. I'm like, I am minding my business. You and I are peers. I'm not your child. And if they're acting out of control or if they're suffering, you need to know about it because that's how it works. She seemed to think I was some person she can just abuse, like a child of hers or something. I don't know. But yeah. So then the other caregiver, though, did actually sort of have a heart and was like, go sit up with the other brother or whatever like that. So the one caregiver actually did separate the two so that way they weren't causing each other trouble. But the funny thing is she's like, well, he shouldn't hit a girl. And I'm like, no one should be hitting anyone. Maybe so whatever the girl was elbowing the child responded with a little elbow back. That's when the caregiver smacked the head. They were all in the wrong. They were all wrong. It was not good. And yeah, so then all of a sudden they were very quiet though. And it was nice. Yeah. I just couldn't believe the one caregiver told me to shut up, and I'm like, you don't talk to me like that. That's not how this works. We don't yeah, that's for decent people. That's not how we talk. I mean, I'm sure there are situations where it's warranted, okay, but no. The other child was bigger than the other child, was picking on, bullying, elbowing, going up close, and the child was like, stop going up against me. And then the one caregiver was like, well, they don't mean to do it. Yes, the child meant to do everything that other child was complaining about. The child was going up against him, elbowing, tapping something and being annoying. The caregiver said, stop doing that annoying sound. And the child still did the annoying sound. Yeah, this child was, if this child doesn't turn in a different direction, it's either going to be bad for the community or bad for the child or both, because they're from a certain heritage where I've seen how they grow up in this community, and there's staunch corners. They either care for themselves and they're fine, or they go in a different direction. They're a drug dealer or they are drug users, and it's there's only three options kind of thing. from what I saw from that snapshot is that child is allowed to do things that that child should not be doing to other people, and that's concerning. But anyway, how are you, Val? Oh, oh, you started school already? August 14th? Wow. Just so you know, I am an adult, and this is adult content, meaning I don't censor words. I try not to teeter around subjects. I don't try to be too harsh. So, dare I ask, what, like, what school are you in? I'm just like, who am I talking to? Like, not which, like, the name of the school, but just, like, which grade or college? Hopefully it's a college. But anyway. Tenth grade. Yeah, I don't have anything. 10th grade. Let's see, 10th grade. That's like 15, 16. Yeah, I don't. There are some things when I watch Kill Tony that are out of my control that are probably not meant for 15-year-olds. But as far as the world goes, I don't think that anything they say is not meant for a 15-year-old. But really, some of the things they say on the Kill Tony show are things anyone should really be hearing or saying. But that's their idea of comedy. And I do like his format. But anyway, that's not really the point. Yeah, for me, I'm just eating right now. Oh my gosh, that's crazy. Are you doing any YouTube stuff? Are you like, um, are you making any content? I never believe 34. How are you doing? I have an appointment on Wednesday. Oh, good for you. Are you a VTuber or are you a streamer or just like whatever your interests are? Like, what kind of content do you do? Never believe. Do you make YouTube content? Crochet content? Oh, your English is bad. Okay. Okay. That's so cool. My friend crochets, or does she knit? I think she knits. Hmm. 29% of 7. Oh, 38%. These polls are changing fast. It's time for trails, trailer tales. Alina J. Paul. J. Paul. Hello, how are you? Where are you from? Oh. There's this YouTube channel called Ryan Taylor, Natural Remedies. And what's it like in Canada? It's sad. It's nice, but it's like it's not as nice as it can be, to be honest. Like okay, like right now David Eby in British Columbia, his party made it so people are discouraged to file for their information. So like myself being on a BC Transit bus today, I want to file for my video footage of me in the bus. Before July of this year, I don't remember which day, I would be able to file, and yes, they're understaffed, but I would be able to file whatever it is I'm looking for to file for. They're backlogged because they're understaffed, but everything is there. Now I can only do 3 things at a time. Like British Columbia has gone incredibly backwards as a nation, as a collective. It was already so divided to begin with. Like British Columbia is so like tall. So Vancouver, Victoria is the capital of British Columbia, is like way down here. And then like the people up here, it's just it's so far removed. And even if you look at a map of British Columbia, if you look up Hope, British Columbia, there's this common saying that goes, there's no hope past Hope. Like there's nothing else. There's nothing. If you look at how low Hope is in British Columbia, you can see it's like a vast amount of land that's just like, and there are people there. Like there's like Prince George, right? There's and like Prince George and surrounding in the province, there are people in the area, but they're just so underserved, especially by the New Democrats. It's crazy. I'm sure the New Democrats, they're doing great. I bet I get lots of money. But as far as the citizenry goes, it's pitiful. It's extremely pitiful. The poverty in these small cities, these small towns, it's bizarre. Like who in these school districts are raising these students to be so neglectful of their community? What are the parents teaching these children at home to be so oblivious to their community members? Like it's very upsetting. Like I don't understand at all. It's very baffling. Like we have a royal family. We're supposed to be able to look at the royal family and go, okay, be like them, and then we'll live happy like them living happy. Okay, have a car. Okay, have a job. Okay, have an education. Okay, like you work toward these things, and for some reason, like that royal template just falls to pieces. Just maybe they're living terrible lives. I don't know. All I see them is like pictures in magazines every once in a while, but it doesn't seem terrible all the time. Like it seems like at least William and Kate are in it appears from very broad things that they're in a happy marriage, which is a lot to say. A lot of these other people, like they get married and then they divorce, and then they're the victim of divorce, and they're a victim of this and the victim of that. And it's like, okay, people go through hard times, yeah, absolutely. And what have you done to make it better? And it's like they're still in a place of suffering and victimhood, even though they're not being hurt anymore, which is a valid place to be. It happens. It's just that they're so unexamined. It's like no one's allowed to tell them they're not self-examined. Like it's this strange paradox of humanity that only God can explain. I don't understand it. I don't really like. I'm not some crazy smart, intelligent person, but I'm a simple person, which makes me smart in a way because I don't need a lot, At the same time, I guess I don't know how much I have, or I don't know how much I don't have. Sometimes there are these like townhouses, like there's like a hill where I live, And when I go by those townhouses, I'm like, that'd be so amazing to live in those townhouses. But they're like super duper expensive. That's like one of the only times where I ever feel like, oh, if I had more money. But I think people have that for almost everything they do, where it's like, oh, a car. If I had more money, oh, a vacation. If I had more money, like I'm not thinking about that kind of stuff as much as other people do, I think. But anyway, yeah, I can't speak a lot for like the rest of Canada. Um, it just seems, yeah, like Ontario and Quebec, they decide who's the national leader, who gets voted in. Everyone else doesn't even really have a vote because anything Ontario and Quebec decides, it's usually the majority. So that they automatically overrule everyone. So by the time Ontario and Quebec are done voting, anyone else, it's like kind of pointless. Like it doesn't really have any matter anymore because, well, mom and dad Ontario and Quebec already decided who's in charge. So, you know, it's it's strange. It's very strange. It does actually make me think about what it would be like to be American. It really does, because like we don't even own our own land. Like the native people don't own their land. We don't own our land. It is like the king's land. But at the same time, no one cares about the king at all in British Columbia, as far as I can see. Like, if anything, they have a sense of disdain for the monarchy, which is like, wait, what? Isn't that our governing body kind of for our, laws of the land? Like, I don't. It's one paradox after another, it seems like. It makes me think about moving to Alberta. And it makes me think that Alberta would be smart to become American because if they did become their own country, I just think they would be harassed by Canadians so much. It would just distract from the actual leadership of that new nation. And then if they're American, though, they have that direction, that freedom, but at the same time, it's so complicated because it's just like there's poverty everywhere. So even if they did become American, it's not like the poverty would increase or decrease. It would just be increasing in the amount that it already is increasing, probably. Who knows? Drugs are so crazy. There's this one woman I used to volunteer with. She was like vibrant and youthful and pretty, and then she got into drugs and now she's overweight, which isn't like the main problem, but obviously being overweight can cause health problems. She wasn't before and now she is, but she has this walker and she's all hunched over and she's just like smoking her little pipe and she just looks more tired and exhausted and her face is like all like just rough and her butt cracks sticking out constantly when she's walking now and it's just like she just I don't know. I feel really sad for her. But I mean, that's her choice, but at the same time, it's like, sheesh, she was really pretty. She was really, like, full of life. And then she just kind of hobbles around with her walker. I mean, yeah, it's weird. So, wow, in America, most of us are pretty nice, at least where I live, and schools are very strict with rules, but there are some places that are very dangerous. Yeah, drugs ruin the life. Yeah. Yeah. And I'm not saying I'm against drugs. I'm just saying I'm for self-control. Like, and that's the thing is like there are these smart people. What it seems like there are smart people in positions of authority who do handle their drugs well, and they just do their drugs, go to work, and then it's just another day. But then for these other vulnerable people, they get into these drug situations, and then oh, now we want. That's the thing. Yeah, British Columbia started to like decriminalize like amounts of like drugs, and there's so many things out of order. My mind just becomes boggled. It's like it's the policing. There are two major issues with British Columbia. It's like the school system and policing. And I mean policing in like the broad sense, self-policing, community policing, and there are probably more types than that. The school system is just like school districts. They don't have a great curriculum. I don't understand. These, students are coming out not really being aware of themselves or what they need to do or want to do. I don't really know what the problem is, except that, it's a cycle, right? If they have drug users out in the street, oh, look, there's the poverty. They're doing it. There's the poverty. And then, these authorities go home and they do their drugs. It's like, well, I don't do all the drugs. It's not me. It's them. It's like, well, they're not in charge. No one in poverty is in charge of the community. Like, no one's giving them a sense of authority, except for, I guess, bus stops. No one seems to be policing bus stops, which is another strange thing. It's a provincial entity, and they're just kind of like, oh yeah, just make a mess of everything and ruin the infrastructure. This one bus stop, it was like glass, like nice glass walls. The bench is melted in part now. There's no glass. There's no walls now. So if it's windy, yeah, there's a breeze up where there's an air, and then down below where there's like an airflow. But it still would cut down on wind flow. Now there's no cut down on wind flow at all. It's like, it's so sad. I don't understand. Ugh, it's so crazy. Yeah. It is better not to do them. Oh!
In some Mormon history and doctrine, there are some topics that ex-Mormons like me refer to as testimony killers or as shelf breakers.
This is Alyssa Grenfell. She's so smart. Schools in your district start early, but since it's kind of dangerous here, all students must have ID and go through metal detectors. Whew. To need metal detectors. Now that should be more upsetting to people than having AI. To me, if people are like, oh, we have AI, oh, that's crazy. But it's like, we have books. Like, AI is just another research method. Oh, hey, Gemini, what do I do for this thing? And then it's like, oh, do that. And it's like, oh, great, thank you. It's like reading a book, except you're not reading a book. You're accessing the book. And the book's telling you what you're looking for. How is that a sin or an issue or a problem? Like, I don't know. It's so crazy. But metal detectors in the school, how did that become necessary? I honestly don't think that there should be mass education facilities at a certain age. Like, I think these parents, whatever that means, they need to learn how to homeschool. I mean, they should be homeschooling from age, 0 to, I don't know, 9 or 10 at least. Because they're not learning things at school. They need to learn for the world. And they're not connected to their families. And it's like, I guess there's just too many narcissistic parents or something. I don't know. It's weird. I think 10's a pretty good age. Because basically, I don't know what they think raising a child means or is, but they're educating from birth. They're educating from, how to walk, how to eat food on your own, how to use the toilet, how to talk, whatever, like all these things where it's like how to clothe yourself, how to wash dishes, hopefully. Why do they stop it at the academic stuff? I don't really understand that. I think a culture, potentially, from what I can see anyway, would gain from homeschooling until at least 10 years old. I would say homeschool until the child is legal age to drive their self around. Because then they can bring their self to school, and it shows that they're at that level of being at school and they choose to go. Like, I don't know. It just doesn't make sense to me. There are too many Hollywood parents. They're like, I need attention. I'm a victim. I'm a parent victim. I'm a victim because I have children.
These are topics that are so damning, so toxic, so illogical that when a lot of members of the Mormon Church who are faithful start to study them in depth for the first time, they may very well end up losing their belief in the entire religion. A major testimony killer for many a Mormon is the story of Joseph Smith's first vision. This is basically the story that started it all. The first vision story is Joseph Smith's origin story as a prophet. If you don't have the first vision, you don't have the Book of Mormon, you don't have the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, you don't have Mormon temples or missionaries knocking on doors. It's really the start of the entire thing. Here's an example of the Mormon Church telling this first vision story. As you can see, Joseph Smith is a young boy. He goes into the woods, he says a fervent prayer, and then is visited in person by literally God and Jesus Christ. While they are visiting him, God and Jesus Christ basically tell him that none of the churches on the earth are correct, and this is the beginning of him being chosen, handpicked by God, to be the next prophet on earth and to restore God's true church to the earth. Or at least that's the story that you're told about the first vision when you're growing up. The Sacred Grove, which is where the first vision happened, is still considered by Mormons to be essentially hallowed ground. I've talked before about how my family did a lot of religious tourism growing up, so I've been to a lot of the Mormon religious sites across the country. So you better believe I've been to the Sacred Grove, and while I was there, I, as a little kid, crept off by myself. I knelt down and prayed to God, and nothing happened. I just stood up and the knees of my pants were a little dirty, and that was that. And I think a major reason why the story of the first vision is reiterated so many times when you're Mormon is that it's a story that solidifies some of the most important doctrines that the Mormon Church holds. For example, this is the origin of this doctrine that Jesus Christ and God the Father are two totally separate beings, which most Christians absolutely refute. And so this idea, which two totally separate beings, which most Christians absolutely God the Father are two totally separate beings, which most Christians absolutely refute. And so this idea, which is contrary to the Trinity, that God and Jesus Christ are two separate beings, this is kind of the origin story of that doctrine as well, is Joseph Smith in that Sacred Grove. Most Christians absolutely refute. And so this idea, which is contrary to the Trinity, that God and Jesus Christ are two separate beings, this is kind of the origin story of that doctrine as well, is Joseph Smith in that Sacred Grove. From this first vision story, the Mormon Church is also able to show, hey, God literally told Joseph Smith that none of the churches on earth were true, which is why Joseph Smith needed to be a true prophet of God. And they're able to show, hey, this is where God basically handpicked Joseph Smith to be the new leader of his official church. And I've always felt as an expert, this visitation from God is basically Joseph Smith getting his Hogwarts letter. God is basically you're a prophet, Joseph. Even when I was a Mormon missionary, the first lesson that you're supposed to ever teach people, the very first thing you talk about as a Mormon missionary, is supposed to be the story of Joseph Smith, including the first vision. On my first day of going to the missionary training camp, they had us sit down and memorize the words of Joseph Smith's first vision, word for word. You can see that this was so important to me that I even wrote it down on a sticky note in Spanish, just in case I ever had the opportunity to talk to someone and try to teach someone about Mormonism in Spanish. If you, as someone watching, happened to meet with Mormon missionaries and you let them teach you the whole first lesson, you almost certainly would hear at some point during this
I'm
lesson
done.
a
Woot.
word-for-word recitation of this first.
Alrighty, well, I might have some dessert. So yeah. Thank you for liking, commenting, and subscribing. Especially thank you for commenting because it gives me something to work with. So yeah, I'll see your comments in the next stream. Thank you for joining. I'm planning to do a sleep stream tonight, and I need to remember to plug my charger in so it actually does not run out of power through the sleep. Thank you for watching. Bye.